Dead or South Park or whatever show Mum and Dad could actually agree on. That was 10 years ago, before I nearly died for the first time, before my parents and brother were murdered. Every single day since then, I've had a feeling that my past was coming back to get me. It would be justified. Their deaths were my fault, and my guilt was a brick in my chest, crushing my soul. Whenever I had access to a computer, the first thing I did was scour the internet for any of the names related to the psychotic bitch who killed my family. Olivia Lucille Seante Angeles, or Blood Angel, as she preferred to be called. She was no angel. She was pure evil. I witnessed her cold-blooded murder of my family. Those gruesome images were repeating in my mind all the fucking time. After my shower, I hopped to the stool next to the sink and toweled the end of my leg stump completely dry. After the lower half of my leg had been shot to shit in Kyrgyzstan, the doctors had tried to save what was left. They had tried damn hard, but the wounds were too extensive and recovery was futile. The decision to have my leg amputated below my knee nearly 2 years ago had been a relief. I was ready to move on with my life, at least as much as possible with the guilt constantly coursing through my veins. Hopping back to my bedroom, I sat on my bed, plucked a container of China White from the back of the top drawer in my side table, and tipped 2 pills into my hand. I shook the bottle again, and 4 more spilled onto my palm. The painkillers weren't prescribed by a doctor. They'd stopped the prescription 6 months after my leg was chopped off. But I needed them. My supply came through a pathway on the dark web where I bought the illegal drugs under any one of the fake names I'd created. I returned 3 pills to the bottle and swallowed the rest. After strapping on my prosthetic leg, I dressed in shorts and a t-shirt and walked along my lengthy hallway in the direction of fresh coffee I had programmed to brew while I was in the shower. The best part of my renovation so far was the kitchen, especially the coffee machine that I'd scored at a deceased estate auction. It had barely been used when I'd bought it for 1/5 of its retail price. I poured the coffee into my favourite travel cup, checked that the back door was locked and double-bolted, and inside the front door, I keyed the code to set the alarm and activate the security cameras, which I'd installed within 2 days of receiving the keys to this place. My new security system had cost nearly as much as I'd paid for the run-down schoolhouse. Yet, so far, the only activity that had been pinged to my phone was from the damn mice that somehow still found ways to get inside. I tried to convince myself that I was paranoid. I wasn't. Blood Angel always got her revenge. And mine was coming. I could feel it in my bones, even the bones that were no longer there. I squinted against the morning glare as I strolled to my Subaru Forester. Learning how to walk with my carbon spring prosthetic foot had been surprisingly easy. The curved blade, which looked like something out of a Star Trek movie, gave my step a bionic bounce. And although I'd been incredibly fit during my tours in Afghanistan and Kyrgyzstan, I was even faster now. My 20-year-old car was a piece of crap, but I didn't care. At the height of my illegal hacking days, my brother convinced me to buy a Lotus Emira. I wasn't old enough to drive that beast. My fake ID said otherwise, though. But I hated that car. It was like driving in a fishbowl. Everyone tried to look through the tinted glass to see who could afford the flashy, bright green $200,000 money pit. I much preferred my Forester, where I could cruise from home to work without even a slight glance in my direction. My car was in the parking space that had been labelled reserved for headmaster when I'd first purchased the property. I'd been tempted to keep the sign in front of my car, but decided it was too pretentious, especially given that the only education I'd received didn't involve a textbook. I swung through the McDonald's drive-thru on the way to work and ate a cheeseburger before I put the car into gear. Yet, as per plan, I still arrived at Alpha Ops headquarters at 10 to 7, and thankfully before anyone in the rest of my team. Juggling my coffee and the paper bag containing another 2 cheeseburgers and a large fries, I lobbed up the stairs and keyed in the security code. At my desk, I devoured